Imagine knowing, with chilling accuracy, when a nation is about to collapse, not by prophecy, not by luck, but by pattern. Imagine writing the blueprint of every empire's rise and its fall 600 years before it happens. No computers, no data models, no economic theory, just observation, history, and one extraordinary mind. His name was Ibn-Khaldun, and what he discovered is so powerful, modern economists still struggle to fully understand it, because Ibn Khaldun didn't just study money, he studied human nature. And human nature, he realized, is the engine behind every economy, every government, every collapse. Before Adam Smith, before Karl Marx, before modern economics even existed, Ibn Khaldun had already mapped the entire life cycle of civilization: birth, growth, wealth, decay, collapse, not as random events, but as a repeating cycle. And once you see the cycle, you can never unsee it. Ibn Khaldun was born in 1332 in what is now Tunisia, into a world of unstable empires, collapsing dynasties, and endless political chaos. Kings rose and fell around him. Cities flourished, then vanished. Nations exploded into power and then quietly decayed. And instead of fighting it, he watched it. He became obsessed with one question: why do civilizations rise, and why do they always fall? Not sometimes, not occasionally, always. So he studied everything: tribes, kings, merchants, wars, tax systems, trade routes, human psychology. And after decades of observation, he reached a terrifying conclusion. Civilizations do not collapse because of enemies. They collapse because of themselves, because of a slow internal decay that begins long before anyone notices. He called this decay the loss of asabiya, social cohesion, shared purpose, moral discipline. In the beginning of every civilization, people are united. They work hard. They trust one another. They sacrifice for the group. This unity creates strength. Strength creates stability. Stability creates prosperity. And prosperity changes people. Comfort replaces discipline. Luxury replaces purpose. Ease replaces effort. The generation that inherits wealth did not earn it, so they do not protect it. They consume it. And that is where the cycle begins to turn. Ibn Khaldun noticed something even more dangerous. When a state becomes wealthy, it begins to grow, not in service, but in size. Bureaucracies expand, palaces rise, armies grow, elites multiply. And all of this costs money. So the rulers do what rulers always do when they need money. They raise taxes. At first it works. The state earns more. Spending increases. Life seems better. But then something subtle happens. Merchants hide income. Workers lose motivation. Innovation slows. Productivity shrinks. So the state raises taxes again, and again, and again, until finally the economy begins to choke. Ibn Khaldun wrote this exact line: at the beginning of the dynasty, taxation yields a large revenue from small assessments. At the end of the dynasty, taxation yields a small revenue from large assessments. 600 years before modern economics, he described what we now call the Laffer curve. But he wasn't interested in graphs. He was interested in the human cost, because he saw that when people feel exploited, they stop believing in the system. When belief disappears, trust collapses. And when trust collapses, everything else follows. But Ibn Khaldun went even deeper. He saw that once trust disappears, rulers stop leading and start extracting. They no longer see citizens as people. They see them as resources. They stop asking, how do we grow society? And start asking, how do we fund ourselves? That shift is invisible at first, but it is fatal. Because once a government exists for itself instead of its people, it has already begun to die. This is why Ibn Khaldun did not believe civilizations fall suddenly. They rot quietly, slowly. Comfort dulls awareness. Wealth hides decay. Luxury disguises weakness. Until one day, the structure looks solid, but collapses with a whisper, not a scream. And here is the most unsettling part. Ibn Khaldun believed every civilization goes through this cycle, not because leaders are evil, but because humans are human. Power corrupts. Comfort weakens. Wealth seduces. And unless a society actively resists these forces, history begins writing its ending. So if this cycle is real, if civilizations always rise, peak, decay, and fall, then one terrifying question remains: where are we in the cycle right now? That question is what part 2 is about, because Ibn Khaldun didn't just explain the past, he explained the present. And once you see where we are, you cannot look at the modern world the same way again. If Ibn Khaldun were alive today, he wouldn't be surprised, not by rising debt, not by political chaos, not by social division, not even by economic instability. He would recognize all of it because he already saw it. 600 years ago, he described the exact symptoms of a civilization entering its final phase, not with dates, not with predictions, but with patterns. And the pattern is unmistakable. First comes expansion, economic growth, rising cities, booming trade, technological progress. Then comes complexity, more rules, more systems, more institutions, more administration. Then comes dependency. People rely on the state relies on debt relies on future growth. Then comes extraction, higher taxes, hidden inflation, currency manipulation, regulatory pressure, and finally comes fracture. Social trust erodes. Citizens turn against institutions. Institutions turn against citizens. Not in war, but in resentment. Not in fire, but in fatigue. That's where collapse truly begins, not when the buildings fall, but when belief does. Look around the modern world. We have never been wealthier in numbers, and never more anxious in spirit. We have never had more technology, and never trusted our systems less. We have never had more information, and never been more confused. Debt has replaced discipline. Consumption has replaced creation. Entitlement has replaced contribution. This is exactly the phase Ibn-Khaldun warned about. The moment when a civilization forgets what created its success and starts living off its memory instead. Ibn Khaldun believed something very dangerous happens when a society becomes too complex. People stop understanding the systems that govern them. Money becomes abstract. Debt becomes invisible. Power becomes distant. And when people don't understand a system, they stop feeling responsible for it. They assume someone else is managing it. That's how decay becomes normalized. That's how collapse becomes invisible. But Ibn Khaldun was not a pessimist. He didn't believe collapse was destiny. He believed collapse was a choice made slowly, comfortably, unconsciously, a choice to trade discipline for ease, responsibility for convenience, purpose for pleasure. And he believed that the only force strong enough to stop the cycle was conscious restraint. Restraint by leaders, restraint by institutions, restraint by individuals. Because when people limit their desires, civilizations endure. And when people unleash their desires, civilizations consume themselves. This is the part modern economics doesn't talk about. It talks about productivity. It talks about growth. It talks about GDP. But it rarely talks about character. Ibn Khaldun understood that character is the foundation of every economy. Without discipline, wealth becomes waste. Without trust, money becomes meaningless. Without purpose, growth becomes hollow. Civilizations don't fall because they become poor. They fall because they become empty. So what is the lesson? It is not to panic. It is not to fear collapse. It is to recognize the cycle, to understand that systems are fragile, that wealth is temporary, that power is intoxicating, and that none of it lasts without moral restraint. The true lesson of Ibn Khaldun is not about history. It is about humility, about remembering that we are not the final generation. We are not the peak of humanity. We are not immune to decay. We are simply one chapter in a very long story. And the story continues whether we pay attention or not. So the question is not, will civilizations fall? They always have. The real question is, will we recognize the signs in time to soften the fall or repeat the suffering? That choice belongs to every generation, including ours. This is Finance Diaries, where history doesn't just tell us what happened, it shows us who we are and who we might become.